Prime Minister, what do you say to the critics who say, Israel owns America, Israel is who makes America do things they want them to do, whether it's through AIPAC, whether it's through, funding, money. You'll typically hear this. This has been overly said the last couple of years in a major way. And there's a community of Americans that at this point believe that whatever Israel wants, they make a phone call to America. America better do or else. Do you agree with that?
Before I let Benjamin Netanyahu respond, I just want to say that this was one of the weakest interviews I've seen Patrick Bet-David do in a very, very long time. No questions about the genocide were asked. No questions about Epstein were asked. They didn't discuss why Western journalists aren't allowed into Gaza. They didn't go into any of the details, barely any pushback, if any. Honestly, I think trigonometry, as much as I hated that interview, pushed back more than Patrick Bet-David. This was pretty pathetic. Let's go over it.
Absolutely not. I think it's full of hokum. First of all, do you know President Trump? I mean, sort of, I've known him for many years.
Sure.
Okay. You don't make him do anything. He does what he thinks is in America's interest.
So right here, something to be very careful about. People like him are very, very dangerous because not only are they trained in speaking well, he knows how to talk, dude. He's a good politician, a lot of experience here. But he's also sucking up to Trump, high IQ. The difference between Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump is that Netanyahu has a mission. You could tell this man's on a mission, man. Trump doesn't really have a mission like this. He's trying to, enrich himself, benefit himself for the short term, his family, whatever. Benjamin Netanyahu has a mission bigger than himself. It's about greater Israel. And you could tell he'll do the short-term move to suck up to Trump. It gets to his ego, and then he can get him to do whatever he wants. He knows exactly how to get Trump to do what he wants. He knows that if he says it directly, like, hey, Trump, do this, that's not going to work on him. What does he do instead? Sucks up to him, lets him feel like it's his own decision, but really just forces him to do it.
And he's very forceful about it. When he sees allies who don't step up to the plate, he's not shy about saying it. And we have a different relationship altogether. It's not one of coercion or manipulation. It's one of common interests and common values. And
I think Trump is too low IQ, to be honest, to manipulate someone like Netanyahu. Trump can manipulate others. Netanyahu's probably manipulating Trump.
I think that people understand that because Israel is different. It really is. We know that we have to fight for ourselves, and we do. But when we fight for ourselves, we fight for you too, because we fight Iran.
Look at the amount of gaslighting right there. So we fight for ourselves, we fight for you too. I don't know, man. Last time I checked, I thought the United States is fighting your battles. I think we fight for you. You know what I'm saying? You're not fighting for us, buddy. Oh, the gaslighting.
Iran tried to murder President Trump not once, but twice. Iran killed and wounded thousands of Americans with their IEDs, explosive devices, in Iraq and Afghanistan. Iran killed 241 Marines in Beirut. They bomb your embassies. They burn American flags. They have mobs chanting, death to America, death to America. So when we fight Iran, we're not just fighting our war, we're fighting your war.
I don't know, man. Last time I checked, Iran and us, we've got like thousands and thousands of miles away. We got a few oceans in between us. We're pretty safe from Iran. Their missiles probably can't reach us. I think you're the one who's actually scared of Iran, not us.
But we are fighting that war here in the Middle East. And let me tell you what would happen. And as someone who had been in the Middle East as a child, I think you can appreciate this. It's not only we who are threatened by Iran. It's our Arab neighbors too. They know that Iran wants to conquer them, pillage their oil fields, take over the Middle East, the maritime routes that control world trade. So they know that. But if you look at who's actually fighting Iran, it's Israel. It's Israel, our brave soldiers.
I don't know. Your brave soldiers. I'll give you a break, man. Didn't America just destroy their little nuclear places? Like, come on, man. Israeli soldiers aren't doing anything. All they're good for is to fight women and children. When you actually have to fight a real country, they're like, hey, big brother United States, come help us, please. And honestly, another high IQ move from Benjamin Netanyahu. Look, say what you want about him. The guy is smart. He's using the traditional fights of Sunni versus Shia in the Muslim Middle East regions and using it against themselves and basically saying that Israel's fighting the Arab people's war. No. You're fighting your battles for a totally different reason. You just want to destroy Iran like you did the other 7 countries that you had a list of like 20, 30 years ago. Iran's the last one that you haven't really destroyed yet. So you're trying to destroy them and you're using the Muslims against each other just to kind of, push your narrative. You're fighting their wars.
Incredibly brave soldiers. And this tiny country, President Trump asked me, how do you guys do this? I mean, you're such a small country, we're the size of New Jersey. bigger than Rhode Island, but
I'm sure the Iron Dome doesn't really help. I'm sure the United States weapons and money and aid and our diplomatic relationships don't help. The fact that we paid off Jordan and Egypt and Saudi and UAE, I'm sure none of that helps. It's all you, bro. It's all you.
that's it. We're slightly smaller than New Jersey, and we take on this enormous empire with all its proxies, this anti-American empire that threatens to kill the president and chance death to America. How do you do this? And I said, well, you're like an enormous lion, almost like a prehistoric saber-toothed tiger. You're enormous. We're not, but we are. We're the badger. This little animal.
Absolutely.
Badger. And you see a badger being, some tiger or lioness is trying to kill it, and it sort of turns around. It has very sharp teeth, and it knows how to go to the weakness points, to the points of vulnerability of the enemy. And you see these things. I watch NGO Wild when my wife lets me because she likes to watch cooking shows. Okay, so late at night after we have this argument, we settle on some compromise, and on NGO Wild, I see these.
That was a very weird story, but few things to note here. Again, second up to Trump's ego. Oh, you're like the big lion. You're like the superpower. We're nothing close to you. Just second up to his ego. You know what I'm saying? Really gas him up, as they say. And he mentioned Israel is an anti-American country. I think they're more anti-Israel. Their problem with America is that America funds Israel. Israel would not be what Israel is today without America. We are the only reason they're able to fight people, 10 countries at once or whatever, right? They're able to fight 10 countries at once and win because of our help, because of our funding. That's why Iran hates America. Let's be honest. And that's why they hate United Kingdom and all, because they help fund Israel too.
These films of this badger, this tiny creature, it's about this big, taking on a lion, and the lion runs away. So Israel is the badger of the international scene. It has the fortitude, the will to fight our enemies because of our history.
I don't know about your will, dude. You just got much better weapons and equipment. That's all it is. Better weapons, better equipment, better intelligence, better funding. That's all you have going for you. You also have better connections because of us, United States of America. There's no will. There's no will. If anything, there's will from the Palestinians who, despite getting slaughtered, innocent civilians getting slaughtered, women and children getting slaughtered, they're getting up every day looking for food, even though they know they could probably die. It's just too sad to even think about. They're the people with the will here. They're the people with the will.
Because for so long, we didn't have a state, we didn't have an army, we didn't have the ability to defend ourselves, which culminated in this crescendo of massacres that culminated in the worst massacre of them all, the Holocaust, in which a third of our people were annihilated. We have that in our bones, in our hearts, in our soul, and we fight. So that's I think President Trump would like to see more Israels around the globe, because everybody who says, America first, I can respect that.
I don't know. Trump did once say that Benjamin Netanyahu bombs like a madman. He just goes around bombing everyone.
But I don't think they want America alone. And if you can have allies that actually share your values and fight for them in various parts of the world, and especially in the Middle East with Iran trying to take over the world, I think that's a valuable addition. So, it'll take time for this to sink in, but it will sink in. Once we finish off Hamas, Gaza can have a different future. Israel and Gaza can have a different future. And as far as I'm concerned, if America wants to come in and invest, that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
So you would be okay if America takes over Gaza and it becomes something that we control. You'd be okay with that?
Yeah, but it's an American choice. I don't want to get into that.
But you would be okay with that. So even if America chooses,
look, I'd be okay with any governance civilian governance in Gaza that doesn't teach its children to annihilate Israel, doesn't pay terrorists. That's what
what does the Talmud tell the Jewish children about non-Jewish people, or the goyams, or whatever they're called? I wonder what it says about them, or the Gentiles.
Not the Hamas do only. It's what the Palestinian Authority, the other side of the Palestinian people, does. They pay terrorists. The more Jews they kill, the more they pay them.
This is very important. I want everyone to pay attention to this, what he just said. So he said it's not just Hamas, it's PLO, the Palestinian Authority, as well. The big problem here is that the West Bank is next. That's next on their agenda, because before it was Hamas is very different than the West Bank. That's why the West Bank, for the most part, was much, much, much safer than Gaza. But now that Gaza's pretty much leveled, people pretty much all dead under the rubble. It's very sad and horrifying. you know that they're going to take over and the West Bank is next. And yeah, like no one knows what's going to happen, how that's going to be. But, we pray for the best.
And doesn't launch terrorists. There are several ideas how to do that. But I think that America's help here is indispensable.
Yeah, that would be very interesting, because if all of a sudden that becomes U.S. territory, and U.S. now has interest in making sure there's not chaos there, that could actually be very effective for a lot of people in the community. I lived in Iran for 11 years, and maybe this is a transition. I got 3 other topics I'd like to talk to you about.
And none of those topics are Epstein or the genocide or the fact that Western journalists can't go in or the fact that, Nasser Hospital, the only basically functioning hospital in Gaza now, there's like 5 journalists there, all shot dead, all blew up. Not shot dead, they're blown up, man. And not even that. A strike happened there. People came to help them, wondered if they're okay or not. Then another rocket came just to kill all of them. It's horrific. And those journalists were connected to Western media. That's the only reason we're finding out about it, or else we probably wouldn't have known.
Is when I lived in Iran for 11 years, I was born in 78. The Shah was leading Iran, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi. And when you look at the stats from 1941 when he took office to 1979, that 38 years that he was in, not a lot of wars. It was fairly peaceful. You have some numbers on the low end of 17,000 people that died due to war in Iran during that 38 years. High numbers, 50,000. In the Middle East, not as chaotic. Of course, there was issues, but not as much as they have now. Then from 1979, Khomeini comes in, IRGC, which I had the former founder of IRGC here. We had a conversation with him. Khomeini comes in 79. From 79 till today, if you look at the numbers, low end, 600,000 people died in Iran, 2 million people. In the Middle East, 4.5 to 5.5 million people have died. Of course, some of the words are different places, but still, when you go back to Iran, you have Houthis, you have all these other things that they control. How much do you think of what the Middle East was like pre the Islamic Revolutionary Guard took over? How everybody was able to find a way to get along versus what happened after 79? I know you're a big history person. What is the difference between those 2 eras?
I love when Patrick Bet David starts talking about his stories of Iran. I find it hilarious because he always talks about how he was 11 years old and then he left Iran. First of all, when you're 11 years old, you might have had your senses for maybe 5-6 years. So he really just remembers 5-6 years in Iran, right? His life in Iran, probably 5 or 6 years. That's what he remembers. Okay, fine. Then after that, he went to camps in Germany. Then the United States eventually made it here. And I'm not saying it was an easy life. It was probably tough. But the fact of the matter is he has this dystopian vision of what Iran used to be like before he was born. The fact of the matter is he didn't see any of that. He was 1 year old when the Shah left, when he was kicked out. And historically, it was a very popular movement to get rid of the Shah. It's not like it just happened. And what he's proposing right now is, hey, majority of people in Iran wanted the Shah to leave, but now, we should force that regime back on them, even though that's not what the people wanted back then. I don't know if much has changed now. I don't know too much about Iran's politics today. But it's just like, dude, you're trying to superimpose that picture onto Iran now. And it's like, that's not how it works. It's not going to be the same.
Well, the big difference is the Islam.
Also, I do want to say that all those fights that he's talking about, all the killings he's talking about in the Middle East today, a lot of them, unfortunately, do get connected back to Israel. That's just a fact.
This revolution that basically took these very gifted people. The Iranian people are enormously gifted. First of all, they have a tremendous historic culture, and you won't be surprised, but maybe your listeners would be surprised that in antiquity, in the time of the great Persian king Cyrus, there was a honeymoon between the Jews and the Persian people. And that relationship actually continued in modest ways, but in significant ways under the Shah. When the Shah went down and these theological thugs took over Iran, they basically said, our goal, that's in their constitution, is to export the Islamic revolution worldwide. And that's what they proceeded to do. So all the mineral resources, all the economic resources were now tuned to war. In the time when I was finance minister and till today, Iran at that time and Israel had roughly the same GDP per capita. Ours went up from $17,000 to $60,000 per capita, and theirs stayed flat. Why? Because they took all that money, to arm Hezbollah, arm Hamas, arm the Houthis, and purvey terror around the globe, not only in the Middle East, against the Arabs, against Israel, against everyone else, against Americans. So you know, what has happened is that Iran collapsed economically. They have now infrastructure that is completely destroyed. Their water system is depleted. Their dams are empty. Their rivers are drying up because they don't take care of their people. In this room where I was sitting a few days ago,
Well, you also did receive a whole bunch of funding from the United States of America, and Iran and the United States of America also kind of froze Iran's funding, not funding, like the money that was their money, it was their oil money. We just froze it. The fact of the matter is, we have given you billions and billions of dollars since 1979.
I gave a podcast to the Iranian people, which I do from
I love this part. He calls a video a podcast and eventually corrects himself. Gotta love
time
it.
to time, and I had a glass of water and a pitcher of water, and I said, you know, we helped Iran, and we're ready to help Iran with its water problems. And when you free yourselves of this tyranny, we'll do it again. Now, Patrick, how many views do you think I got for this podcast?
How many?
It's a video, actually. How many?
How many?
70 million.
From
Now,
Iran?
has about 50 million, we
Wow.
think. So it's
Here's the problem here. So Patrick Bet David, according to his ex, he says X account, Twitter account, not like his actual ex. He said that Benjamin Netanyahu is none of these questions. There's no restrictions. These questions were not talked about ahead of time. There's no prep ahead of time. But moments like these really makes me feel like it was prepped, because he just said this whole story about the Iran water, and guess how many people washed it, and it was 70 million people in Iran. Yes, in Iran. Patrick Bet David tried to act all surprised because Patrick Bet David heard this before. He heard it on trigonometry. It was either trigonometry or his interview with the Nelk boys, where Benjamin Netanyahu said the same exact thing. And a lot of the points are the same exact thing that he said on trigonometry. I'm not seeing much of a difference here. So it's really hard for me to believe that it wasn't prepped, that he wasn't given questions ahead of time, and that he wasn't given limits on what he could talk about and what he cannot talk about. Because no one's pushing the boundaries here.
huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's half the population. And you can tell that it hit a nerve because all the Iranian leadership proceeded to respond to it and to attack it and so on, which tells you it really got to them. And that's in fact what is happening. This regime is not only tormenting and executing and killing the people of Iran, they subjugate them, but they seek to subjugate the entire world in their mad fantasies, the Muslim world and then everyone else. And of course, we're not Muslims, so we have to be eliminated because we stand in their way of conquering the entire Middle East. So Israel is fighting here not only our war, but the war of our Arab neighbors, the war.
And the Palestinians are standing in your way of conquering greater Israel. Like, come on, man. Stop it. Stop it. Every confession is, what's that saying? Every confession is, you guys know what I'm saying.
The Western countries, they're developing now
Every accusation is a confession.
ballistic missiles that can reach deep into the heart of Europe. Their plan is to develop, the next thing is an ICBM, an intercontinental ballistic missile that will reach 8,000 kilometers. You add another 3,000 and they can reach New York. Where are you broadcasting from, by the way?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Yeah, they can reach Florida, Fort Lauderdale, New York, Washington, Boston, and after that, any other city in the United States. And they intend to put nuclear warheads on these ballistic missiles. So this is a fact. And the main fact that I want to say is that we're fighting in many ways the war of the West, the war of Western civilization against these barbarians. And our victory will be your victory. And what do their proxies do today?
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is we can fight our own battles. We don't really need Israel to fight our own battles. Stop saying this nonsense that, oh, you owe us because we're fighting your battles. No, we didn't ask you. We don't need you. We can do it ourselves. Don't worry about it.
They take our hostages for extortion. They take our hostages. I liberated 205 out of 255.
Wait, so hold on. Did Hamas take your hostages or Iran? Because then if Iran took them, why are we fighting Hamas then?
We still have at least 20 alive and about 30 dead, and we intend to get all of them. And that's what we're fighting for now. But it just tells you what the nature of this regime and its proxies is. It's anti-West, anti-America, anti-Western civilization. It's not good to be a Christian. It's very bad to be a Jew in Iran. And it's very bad to be either one of those in any part of Iran's proxies.
Right.
From what I hear, it's not too nice to be a Christian in Israel either, man. What about the Christians in West Bank? What about the Christians in Gaza? Like, what's going on over there? I don't think you care about the Christians either, Benjamin Netanyahu.
For you, would the war and the Hamas attack have happened if President Trump was president instead of Biden?
I don't know. It's a good question, but you said something about Biden that I should just point out the facts. In fact, President Biden supported us in the beginning of the war after this horrific massacre, and he came here, and I very much appreciate it. But as the war progressed and the vilifications of Israel, the distortions on the media began to pile on, he began to take a different course. And when we were just 2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way in Gaza, I said we have to go into that last position that they had, where they had organized battalions. It's in a city called Rafah, in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. And he said, don't go there. And he said, if you do go there, I'll smack an embargo on you. Now, you're fighting a seven-front war, and all of a sudden you're slapped with an embargo of weapons. That was tough. And I said to President Biden, who I've known for many years, I respect the fact you're the President of the United States, but I'm the Prime Minister of the one and only Jewish state, and we've been fighting to survive in our small place under the sun. It's been a battle that has been going on for 3,500 years. So I'll have to do what we have to do. And then a few days later, Tony Blinken, who was the Secretary of State, came to Israel, and he said, the President is serious about this embargo. And I said, Tony, I know it's serious because you stopped all the weapons. You slow walked them before, but now you've stopped them. And then I said to him this. He said, well, how are you going to do it then? I said, Tony, we'll fight with our fingernails if we have to, but we're not going to leave. It's like the Allies would leave a quarter of the German battalions in place and not go into Berlin. And I said, would you take that? Would you take that, Patrick? Of course you wouldn't. So we didn't take it either. We did it against the opposition of the American president. So much for Israel controlling the United States. We don't. But we do seek to control our destiny. And when
Yeah, this was a slap to the face of President Biden and the United States, and it shows that our greatest ally isn't really our greatest ally. We have been funding them for years and years and years, giving them weapons nonstop for years and years and years. And actually, Israel is one of the only countries, or if they might be the only country, where we fund their weapons and they don't have to buy 100% from us. They can buy 80% from us and 20% from somewhere else, maybe their own industries. Very, very interesting. Anyways, the fact is that Biden told them, don't go past Rafah. That's a red line. And he still did it anyways. Zero respect. Why? He probably knew that Biden's going to be out, and then it's probably going to be some other guy, and then he can renegotiate. Who gives a crap what Biden says? That's probably what happened.
somebody commits a crime like they did on October 7th, decapitating our men, raping our women and then murdering them, burning children alive in front of their parents, taking 255 hostages, grandmothers with their grandchildren.
All BS. I don't listen to any of this crap. And
This horror and
what I was gonna say is, if you were able to fight in Rafah without the U.S. weapons and the embargo, why are we even funding them anymore, man? Why are we giving them weapons? They could fight their own fights. Let them do it. They're showing they're independent. They're literally saying, yeah, we're independent. Then why are we funding them?
to do it again and again and again. Well, what choice do we have? We have to fight them and their Iranian patrons, and we did just that. We did that first with American help, then with American opposition, and when President Trump came in, with great American help, which I truly appreciate. And I think President Trump does what he thinks is good for America. I don't think that. I know that for a fact.
Look at him sucking up to Trump. This is what Trump wants to hear on media. He wants to be known as a guy who does whatever he wants, does whatever's in the United States interest, even though people are waking up now, man. A lot of people, even that voted for him, they know Trump is bought out too, and he's just sucking up to Israel, just like Biden was. And if anything, I mean, it proves to us how much power that the AIPAC has on our government. Because, everyone thought Trump's not the type of guy that just listens. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. But look what he's doing to Benjamin Netanyahu. Literally the same thing, if not worse.
Going back to that, I want to clarify this again. So you said you don't know whether Hamas October 7 attack would have happened under Trump. So you're saying Hamas would have had the audacity, even under Trump, to have attacked, or no, they would have feared him?
Probably not, but it's hard to say with these maniacs. You can't quite tell. I think Iran would have been more careful, and Iran is the patron. Would they have controlled completely their client, their proxy? Maybe not. Maybe they would have, possibly. But look, I think President Trump has changed the posture of America. America is back on the global scene. America is resumed its powerful position among the nations.
See, look, again, sucking up to Trump. Trump did all this. He brought America back on the scenes. He's just reiterating everything Trump says about himself. He's reiterating it just to suck up to him. Like, yeah, Trump, I'm on your side. I'm going to help you with this media. Don't worry, I got your back.
And I think that's for the good. Because I think one of the tragedies
This is why I say that the White House is Israeli occupied territory. Get your hoodie today. One of the subscribers actually makes this amazing hoodie. I love it. It's sneaky. And get it before it's banned. If you buy it today, you can use my coupon code INAM10 and get 10% off. Link will be in the description below.
for the Jewish people was that in the first half of the 20th century, America was not the dominant global power. And the worst tragedy in the history of mankind, the World War II, took place, and I don't think it was accidental. And the worst tragedy in the history of my people, the Holocaust, took place. But in the second half of the 20th century, America emerged as the dominant power on the earth, and Israel came into being. And as a result, our history has changed. We no longer are massacred with impunity. We now have the ability to defend ourselves.
I want to show you this clip. This is a clip of you and the president. You guys are standing right next to each other.
If you have the ability to defend yourself, why are we still paying for it? I don't understand. Like Benjamin Netanyahu is literally saying it with his own mouth that we have the ability to defend ourselves. Why are we still paying for their weapons? Why? Why are we giving them weapons? Buy your own weapons.
And you give a look that you almost didn't know he was going to say this. And this is just personally for myself. I'm curious, did you know the president was going to be saying this? Go ahead and play the clip, Rob.
As far as Gaza is concerned, we'll do what is necessary. If it's necessary, we'll do that. We're going to take over that piece. We're going to develop it, create thousands and thousands of jobs, and it'll be something that the entire Middle East can be very proud of. But everybody feels that continuing the same process that's gone on forever, over and over again, and then it starts, and then the killing starts, and all of the other problems start, and you end up in the same place, and we don't want to see that happen. So by the United States, with its stability and strength, owning it, especially the strength that we're developing and developed over the last fairly short period of time, I would say really since the election, I think we'll be a keeper of something that is very, very strong, very powerful, and very, very good for the area, not just for Israel, for the entire Middle East. Very important. And we'll, again, have thousands of jobs.
Can you pause it? You gave a look where you weren't expecting the president to say that, as if...
See, this is so subjective. I actually remember when PBD said this about Benjamin Netanyahu in that meeting, that, oh my God, did you see Netanyahu's face? He was not expecting that. Trump is definitely not controlled by Netanyahu. I don't know, man. I watched that clip. I just see Netanyahu making normal faces. Like, don't forget, these guys are experienced politicians. They know how to keep their composure very well. They could hear the most surprising fact in the world. They'll keep their composure, show no shock in their face at all. So I think he was reading too much into it, and now and now he says this. He confronts Netanyahu with it, and Netanyahu's like, no, I already knew about it. I wasn't making any faces.
It's going to be our land. Were you surprised by what the president said here?
No, actually, I wasn't. But I can tell you that he said something else there. He said, and that surprised the world. And I thought, again, he cut to the chase. He said, why are Gazans locked in this area, which is just used as a base for attack against Israel for its destruction? That's what the de facto Palestinian state in Gaza was. It was a base for Israel's destruction. It has no other purpose. And it lived under this horrible tyranny, this terror tyranny of Hamas. So he said, why not give people a choice? I mean, in other war theaters, in Ukraine or in Syria or in Afghanistan, millions left if they wanted to. In Gaza, they're locked in. Nobody allows them to leave. And he says, give them a choice. If they want to leave, let them leave. And for those who stay, rebuild Gaza. I thought that was actually a very sensible thing. And it's not our goal now to depopulate Gaza and all these other nonsenses that people say. Our goal is to free Gaza, free it from Hamas, free it from Hamas tyranny and terror. And we now have Gazans. I'll bet you don't know this, Patrick. We now have Gazans fighting Hamas. And they say, thank God you're here. They didn't dare do that until the final stages of this war, which we're in now, because they know that they won't be slaughtered. So,
don't pay attention to the word he says. Look at the actions he does. He says, oh, our goal is not to occupy Gaza. Our goal is not to eliminate all the people in Gaza. Well, look what he did. I mean, now they are going to occupy Gaza. He's admitted it. They just passed a resolution to do just that. And he did eliminate a lot of people in Gaza, like hundreds of thousands, most likely. Once the rubble settles, once they clean it up, which they said it'll probably take a year to clean up, and we get a real number, it's probably going to be over 100,000 people, in my opinion. Probably more than that. And another thing, he says the Palestinians are happy that the Israelis are here helping them from Hamas. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a video like that. I've seen a lot of videos and images coming out of Gaza. Never seen anything like that. But the fact of the matter is, the doctor, the American doctor who helped volunteer in Nasser Hospital, who interviewed with Theo Vaughn, he actually mentioned that he was asked, he's like, "Hey, is Hamas actually stealing the food that America sends over?" He said, no, there's actually gangs there in Palestine, in Gaza. The gangs are stealing the food and they're charging exorbitant prices selling the food to the people in Gaza. And these gangs have guns and everything. And Theo Von asked, like, "Yo, how are these guys getting guns? I mean, I thought there was drones everywhere, and Hamas is just getting shot down and they're in their tunnels." He's like, "Yeah, it's not Hamas. Hamas is in their tunnels hiding. If you have a gun in Gaza, you're getting shot down. No question. These gangs in Gaza are working with the IDF." So when he says, "Oh yeah, there's Palestinians that are so happy that the IDF is here," he's probably talking about these gangs that are stealing the food. And it's not Hamas. It's the gangs that they're probably funding themselves. They're probably giving the guns to them. Like, you better know that if you are not supposed to have a gun in Gaza, you will not have a gun. You'll probably not even be alive.
They actually fight Hamas. They fight these monsters. They call them monsters.
But for anybody that doesn't recognize Armenian Assyrian genocide, if there's any country that I would have expected to be on the list that recognized the Armenian and the Assyrian and the Greek genocide, it would be Israel. Why haven't you yet recognized the Armenian, Assyrian, and the Greek genocide that the Turkish did to that community?
In fact, I think we have, because I think the Knesset passed a resolution to that effect.
I don't know if it's come from you, though. I don't know if it's come from the Prime Minister of Israel.
Yeah, I just did.
Okay.
Here you go.
All right. Well, thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate you. That's important to me.
That was one of the weirdest parts of this interview. Like, this interview is about to be for the Palestinians and Gaza and the whole fight. Barely anyone spoke about the fights and the hostages and, the hospital journalists that were just killed, or why Western journalists aren't allowed in there, or any of these things. None of these topics were touched. And he's talking about the Armenian genocide. And fine, okay, if that's important to you, that's important to you. But why are you hijacking this moment that's for the Palestinians and asking about the Armenian genocide? And if Netanyahu calls it a genocide, what difference is it going to make? I'm genuinely curious about that. And, like, do you think he means any of this? Like, dude, the dude's a liar. He says one thing, does another. I mean, just because he says it doesn't mean he believes it. I don't think so.
And I'm sure a lot of Armenians, Assyrians, and Greeks around the world appreciate you saying that. Why?
I think Patrick Bet-David was very proud of himself for doing that. I don't think it's going to change much with that community, though. Anyways, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel. Only about 6% of you have actually subscribed to the channel. Just go ahead and subscribe. It really helps out. Like this video, it goes to a larger audience. Now let's continue.
Why do you think this has taken so long? Because if you think of a part of it, when you think about especially in America, there's 3 different types of people on social media right now, or in America, that follow you. One, they fully believe you're committing a genocide right now. They're part of the community that's thinking they compare you to some dictators, some terrible leaders in the past, many names you've heard of before. Some of them are blindly supportive of what you're doing, but there's the other community that's almost a little bit burned out, that's wanting this story to end. Obviously, it's tragic. We're seeing what's going on.
No, I hate this framing. I really hate this framing, because he's basically making... So all of the people that are calling it a genocide and saying that Netanyahu's a war criminal, he's making them the opposite extreme of the people that are going to support him no matter what. I think the majority of the country has turned their support against Netanyahu. A lot of people in every demographic has gone against Israel now. So to call them the other extreme, it's not fair. I think they're the majority now. And there are obviously people who are getting burned out too, but I just don't think it's fair to classify people that are sick of Netanyahu to be an extreme. That's just not true.
We're seeing all the stories, but why do you think this is taking longer than it's taking?
Well, I don't think it's taken longer than it's taking. Look at what we had to fight.
Well, he did say that was a political war, and I intend to destroy them on the ground and then take care of the media later. It's been almost 2 years, buddy. Just saying, that's pretty long, man. For someone who can annihilate them in a second, it's taken a pretty long time.
Attacked viciously by the most savage attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust. That's by Hamas on October 7th. I said on the second day of the war, when Hezbollah joined the fray, I said we're going to change the face of the Middle East. because it was clear to me, and it may be clear to you too, that we're fighting the Iran axis. Without Iran, I would say that all the axes, all the proxies collapse. Hezbollah collapses, Hamas collapses, Assad collapses, and so on. So it was clear to me that we had to topple the Iran axis and not just deal with Hamas. And what happened following that was that we went in, Hamas is in its last breath. We haven't finished it yet, but we crippled Hamas. Then we went and finished off Hezbollah, took out Nasrallah. That led to the collapse of the Assad regime, whose armaments we destroyed. The Syrian army's armaments. We dealt with the Houthis, still dealing with them. And then we had Iran itself, that it struck us, and we had to strike back. And as you see, we changed the face of the Middle East, not only because we hobbled the proxies, but because Iran, which was a totally invincible enemy, throwing its weight around not only in the Middle East, spreading terror everywhere, and trying to arm itself with nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles to deliver them, we struck them very hard. So when you fight these four fronts, and there are another three, by the way, that I haven't mentioned, when you're doing that, a small country, it takes time. But I think we're approaching the final leg, and that's really finishing off Hamas. We can't have those monsters at spitting distance from Tel Aviv and our communities, and we're going to finish it.